Anai, I, 26F, watched as my mom opened the expensive handbag I had saved up for months to buy her. She barely looked at it before setting it aside. Then my sister Chloe, 24, female, handed her a small, generic gift box. Mom's face lit up. She held Chloe's gift high for the whole family to see and said, "Now here's a gift from my real daughter." The room went silent, but in that moment of humiliation, I knew one thing. My mother had just handed me the key to her downfall. Christmas morning at my parents' house was supposed to be perfect. The whole family was there. My aunts, uncles, cousins. Everyone gathered around the tree. I'd spent 3 months saving every spare dollar for that designer handbag. Mom had been eyeing it in store windows for over a year. Meanwhile, Chloe gave her a cheap scented candle from the drugstore, the kind you grab last minute at checkout. But somehow, that candle meant more to Mom than anything I could ever give her. The silence after Mom's comment felt like it lasted forever. Dad stared at his coffee mug like it held the secrets of the universe. My aunt cleared her throat awkwardly. Even my little cousins stopped playing with their new toys. Only Chloe smiled, that same smug smile she'd worn since we were kids. What? This wasn't new. This was just another chapter in the story of our family. The story where Chloe could do no wrong and I could do no right. When Chloe got arrested for shoplifting in high school, Mom said it was a misunderstanding. When I got a full scholarship to college, Mom said I was lucky the standards were so low these days. When Chloe dropped out of community college after 2 weeks, Mom said she was too creative for a traditional education. When I graduated with honors, Mom didn't even come to the ceremony. She was taking Chloe to a spa weekend because she needed cheering up after another breakup. Instead of making a scene that Christmas morning, I excused myself and went upstairs. I sat in my old bedroom, surrounded by childhood memories that suddenly felt poisoned. But as I sat there, something clicked in my brain. I remembered a phone conversation I'd overheard months ago. Mom had been whispering in her home office, talking about money and keeping things quiet. At the time, I thought maybe she was planning a surprise for Dad's upcoming birthday. Now, I wasn't so sure. I waited until everyone left and Mom was busy cleaning up wrapping paper. And I slipped into her home office, the room she always kept locked, claiming it was for work privacy. The key was hidden in the same place it had been since I was 12, under the fake plant on the bookshelf. Inside, I found her filing cabinet. In the back of the bottom drawer, behind old tax returns, I found a manila envelope marked private. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were bank statements for an account I'd never seen before, an account with only Mom's name on it. The balance made my eyes water. Over $500,000. The deposit history showed it. All came in as one lump sum 2 years ago. There was a letter, too, from a law firm explaining that Mom had inherited the money from her great-aunt Margaret, someone I'd only heard mentioned once or twice at family gatherings. 2 years ago. I remembered that time clearly. Mom had been crying about money constantly. She said Dad's salary wasn't enough anymore. She even asked me for a loan to help with their mortgage payment. I gave her $2,000, almost everything I had saved. She never paid me back. She said she would when things got better. Meanwhile, she was sitting on more money than most people see in a lifetime. I kept digging through the envelope. There were more papers. Business plans for something called Chloe's Couture, a high-end boutique. Lease agreements for retail space in the expensive part of town. Vendor contracts. Interior design mock-ups. Everything was dated within the last year. Everything was paid for from that secret account. Mom was setting Chloe up with her own business, funded entirely by money Dad didn't even know existed. At the very bottom of the stack, I found printed text messages. I don't know why Mom printed them. Maybe she thought they were safe there. The messages were between Mom and Chloe. They talked about the money openly. They called Dad the clueless provider and laughed about how he still thought they were struggling. Mom. But the worst part was when they talked about me. Chloe called me the family charity case, and Mom agreed. Mom wrote that once Chloe's business took off, they could finally stop pretending to care about maintaining relationships they didn't value. I took photos of everything with my phone, every statement, every contract, every cruel message. I put everything back exactly as I found it and left the office. My mind was racing, but I forced myself to stay calm. I needed to think. I needed a plan. 3 weeks later, Dad pulled me aside after Sunday dinner. He looked tired, older than his 55 years. He said he'd been thinking about my future. He knew Mom was hard on me sometimes, and he felt bad about it. He wanted to help me buy an apartment, to give me some independence. He was planning to withdraw money from his retirement fund, $20,000. It would set his retirement back by years, but he said I deserved it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to show him everything right then and there. This man was willing to sacrifice his future for me while his wife sat on a fortune she was using to fund her favorite daughter's dreams. But I held back. If I was going to expose this, I needed to do it right. I needed maximum impact. I decided to give Chloe one chance. Just one. I met her for coffee and laid it out simple. I said, I know about the inheritance and the boutique. Her face went white for about 2 seconds. Then she recovered. She actually laughed. She said, so what? It's Mom's money. She can do whatever she wants with it. I asked her if Dad knew. She rolled her eyes. She said, oh, well, of course not. And he's not going to find out, is he? Look, this has nothing to do with you. Mom wants to give her real daughter a head start in life. Maybe if you weren't such a disappointment, you'd get the same treatment. It's like you should try being happy for me for once. That was it. Any tiny shred of sympathy I might have had for her evaporated. I smiled and said nothing else. She thought she'd won. She had no idea what was coming. Mom's 13th wedding anniversary party was a month away. She'd been planning it for almost a year. She wanted to show off to all their friends and family. She'd rented a country club ballroom. She'd hired caterers and a band. She'd invited over 100 people. She'd even hired a photographer to capture every moment of what she kept calling their perfect love story. It was going to be like the social event of the season in our small town. It was also going to be the perfect stage for what I had planned. The night of the party arrived. Mom looked radiant in her new dress, probably bought with that secret money. Dad wore the same suit he'd worn to every formal event for the past decade. The ballroom was packed. Everyone who was anyone in town was there. Mom basked in the attention, playing the role of devoted wife to perfection. Dinner was served. Toasts were made. Then Mom stood up to give her big speech. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue as she talked about 30 years of marriage. She said, 30 years of partnership, of trust, of complete honesty with each other. Robert has been my rock, and I've tried to be his safe harbor. In a world full of deception and betrayal, we've built something pure and true. The room erupted in applause. People were actually crying. Dad looked at Mom with such love in his eyes. That's when I stood up. I said, that was beautiful, Mom. Speaking of honesty, I have one more anniversary gift for Dad. I walked to the front of the room, carrying an elegantly wrapped box. Mom's smile froze on her face. Chloe, sitting at the family table, gripped her champagne glass so hard I thought it might shatter, but they couldn't say anything, not with everyone watching, not without looking suspicious. I handed the box to Dad with a big smile. I said, this is something I think you really need to see, Dad. Go ahead, open it. Dad looked confused, but pleased. He carefully unwrapped the box. Inside, arranged neatly, were copies of everything. The bank statements showing the hidden $500,000, the business plans for Chloe's boutique, the lease agreements, and on top, the printed text messages where Mom and Chloe mocked him and called me the family charity case. The room was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. Dad's face went through a journey of emotions. Confusion, disbelief, understanding, a hurt. And finally, a cold, quiet fury I'd never seen before. He looked up at Mom. His voice was barely above a whisper, but in the silent room, everyone heard him. He said, 30 years! Mom tried to speak. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. She reached for the papers, maybe thinking she could explain them away. But there was no explaining away $500,000 and months of deception. Not with the evidence right there in black and white, not with 100 witnesses, watching her perfect image crumble. Dad stood up, straightened his old suit jacket, and walked out of his own anniversary party. He didn't say another word. He didn't need to. The damage was done. The truth was out. The guests left quickly after that, mumbling awkward excuses. Within an hour, the ballroom was empty except for Mom, Chloe, and me. Mom was sobbing. Chloe was screaming at me, calling me every name she could think of. I just smiled and left. My work was done. The divorce was finalized. 6 months later, the hidden inheritance became public record during the proceedings. Dad's lawyer made sure everyone knew about Mom's deception. The judge awarded Dad half of the inheritance money plus alimony. Mom had to sell the family house to pay him. Her social circle, the one she'd spent years cultivating, wanted nothing to do with her after the scandal. Chloe's boutique never opened. Without the full funding and with her reputation destroyed by association, no vendor would work with her. She ended up moving back in with Mom into a small apartment on the wrong side of town. The same neighborhood Mom used to drive through with the doors locked, telling us to be grateful we didn't live there. Dad used his share of the money to retire early and travel, something he'd always dreamed of but never thought he could afford. He helped me buy my apartment, too, not from his retirement fund, but from the money that should have been shared from the beginning. Our relationship is stronger than ever. He thanks me regularly for opening his eyes, though I can still see the hurt sometimes when he thinks I'm not looking. As for me, I got everything I wanted. Not money or property, but something better. Peace. Freedom from the toxic dynamics that had poisoned my whole life. And the satisfaction of knowing that Mom and Chloe, who thought they were so clever, who thought they could treat people like disposable objects, got exactly what they deserved. Mom still tries to contact me sometimes. She leaves voicemails saying she's sorry, that she wants to explain, but I know better now. She's not sorry for what she did. She's sorry she got caught. Chloe sends me nasty messages on social media from fake accounts, blaming me for ruining her life. I block them and move on. They made their choices. They chose greed and deception over family. They chose favorites and secrets over love and honesty. Now they get to live with those choices every single day. And me, I wake up every morning in my own apartment, paid for with honesty and justice. And I smile. Because in the end, Mom was right about one thing. Chloe was her real daughter. They deserved each other.